Hey there, thanks for tuning to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. It's Victor Hamza. Hey, thanks for checking me out. So, a lot going on. Just thought I'd do a quick video. And this one, I think I'm going to title My IQ versus Einstein or something like that. It's kind of funny. So, my IQ, I tested it online and I took at one point, I was thinking about switching careers or doing something else. I just got to get out of my career, my regular career, versus healing and everything else, which is like a secondary. And I just would like to do that full time. But enough about that. So, in teaching and all that, meditation and all that, that's just amazing. But that's like a secondary. You just, Anyway, so 116, I think I usually test at, or 119, somewhere in that range. And what I used to do is, wake up in the morning, listen to a 20-minute TED Talk. Did that for a couple years. And I understand that you can actually raise your IQ, you can raise your intelligence. So, from consistently living right, from being healthy, from reading, from learning constantly. I don't believe like if someone's going to read constantly, and I think you could raise, from my research, you could raise your IQ, and that's what I understand. So 10, 15 points, that would get me up to genius level. Maybe not. Maybe I'm where I am. That's fine. So Einstein had his theory of relativity, and he was working on his TOE, the theory of everything, which was his, Moby Dick. So that was his whale that he was seeking, right? Me, I've been working on a lot of things. One of them is the Mandela effect. That's my Moby Dick. To me, that's the TOE, that's a theory of everything. When, and I believe I figured it out. So, concerning intelligence versus perceiving. So, I've noticed in my life when people have a super high intelligence. So, listen, you get a parking lot full of people. Okay, let's say you have 1,000 people. The way it works is, most of them are going to be, the averages. So you're going to average is 100. Most of people are going to fall in that category. You're going to get a lot of people in the moronic level, and it's okay for me to use the word moronic. It's actually a real term to use against intelligence. In this instance. So you have a lot of people that are going to be on the moronic level, and you're going to have some people, higher. I have high intelligence, and then you're going to have a few people testing 130, and then very rarely are going to get a genius. You might not even get it in that crowd of people in a parking lot. So it's a curve. You might not get, so you're going to get around 100. So when you see things in the news, when you see things out there, you have to realize what's a consensus. The consensus is they're getting, most people have an IQ of 100 have the consensus. Now, when you have, what do people do online? So they're going to try to piggyback. So they're going to pay attention to who they think is smarter, who has a higher intelligence, and they're going to try to understand. That's what I would do if I see somebody like a genius physicist, and this guy is on a wavelength that I'm interested in, for instance. Then I'm going to watch those videos. I'm going to pay attention to that person, because maybe they'll give me a leg up. Now, what I'm getting at is that you're not going to see geniuses really interested, as I understand it, in the Mandela effect and things of this nature, spiritual things, because what what I was starting to say is, in my life, I've noticed that people who have a super high intelligence, who I've upon occasion been in contact with and have a great rapport with, I have to say, when I meet with them, you see, they concentrate on the finer things. They concentrate on the smaller things, and they don't see so much, sometimes, a greater picture. So being that I'm an INFJ as well, I see, the greater picture and how things tie together. Sometimes you'll see, geniuses, and they'll get into one thing. And what I'm saying is, I don't see them a lot of times tying disparate, ideas together in a new way. So you have to have the intelligence to step back, as we used to say when I was learning how to paint. You have to step back and see the painting. If you're too close to the canvas, you're going to see, the forest. You're not going to see the forest, you're just going to see the trees. Do you see what I'm saying? So you want to, if you're going to leapfrog, which is fine, you're going to use somebody, you want to find the right person that's at the right level for your intelligence to understand and, perceive. For instance, I can memorize things for a long term and put it from short term to long term. I have that ability. And then a couple of years ago, there was a guy named Yuri, cosmonaut. No, not Yuri Gagarin. Another Yuri, Russian cosmonaut that actually went into their space station and set a record. So I remember his record was 938 days, and I was like astounded. I was like, wow, that's crazy to have a ability to be up there in outer space for that long. Then he came back, and I was reading all the articles, and you read it through Wikipedia, which is not a great place, but then I always cross-reference. And, his bone density and whatnot is not as good. He's lost muscle, blah, blah, blah. You get all these problems because he's not in Earth's gravity. So I said, okay. A couple years later, I go back and look at the longest time for someone to be in outer space. And it ends up being 690 days with the same Yuri. And I'm going, wait a second. What happened to almost 300 days? Where'd those 300 days go? Is this a timeline shift? What happened? Okay, so is this, a simulation auto-correction? We had to do something else to not have somebody up there for that long? It doesn't, doesn't make sense. Didn't make sense to me. But the one thing that you don't have to be a genius to think about is that if we have the moon, how far away is the moon? The moon is, they say, 3 days away with the fastest rocket. So you get in a rocket and you're going in the rocket, in 3 days you're getting there. Now, let's say you're in a slow rocket. Instead of having the fastest rocket, let's have a slow rocket. Let's put in the space station enough supplies. Okay, we're going to put in the space station enough supplies to last a couple weeks. Sounds crazy, but I think they could do that. So you're going to put in the space station enough supplies for a few weeks, and then you put on the space station a thruster. I don't know, let's say you have that ability. You have billions and billions of dollars in orbit space station. Let's put a rocket on it and let's send it to the moon. Okay, it doesn't take 3 days because you have, let's say it takes a month. You're trying to tell me that you have cosmonauts that can stay 600 plus days, according to the timeline now, in the space station continually, But you can't send a rocket for 50 years until recently with people on it. You can't send them to the moon. You don't have to be a genius to do the math. It doesn't make sense. That's my point. So, you don't have to be a genius to understand that something ain't right. This isn't right. You have guys up in this International Space Station, in these space stations, okay, Skylab and all these, for months and months and months, but you can't send somebody to orbit the moon and come back? No. It's all fake, man. All right. Like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you think in the comments. Peace out. Bye.